Our host, Quabila Harden, along with Ms. Michael Simone.
Good morning, everybody.
And our special guest for part one of today's show is Mr. Bobby Long from the City of Jonesboro. Well, he's a City Council member, and he serves in Ward 6, Position 1. So good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so thank you for joining us. And today we have a few topics we're going to try to get through in this short amount of time, but we just want to touch on a few things that are going on around Jonesboro and that are important to the citizens. Okay, so which one? Let's talk about some rezoning. You know, I've seen a lot of signs around town. Some's commercial, some's residential. And tell us kind of what goes into the process of deciding how a piece of land gets labeled commercial versus residential.
Well, we have a master land use plan, and like for instance, commercial C3.
Okay.
Or whether it's there's areas that this plan has determined would be best fitted for commercial use.
Okay.
There's some land that would be best fitted for residential, single family. There's others that would be best suited as multifamily.
Okay.
Like apartment complexes and things like that. A lot of times what happens in our rezoning issues is you have a landowner that wants to expand the use of their land, and so what they want, like say it'll be zone C3. Well, let's say that they want to put apartment complexes on it. Well, they can't because it's not allowed on C3. So what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll want to rezone that property in such a manner like RM12 that would allow for 12 units. So they'll want to rezone that to fit what they want to do with the property or how they think that property should be rezoned in order to sell it best.
Okay.
So that's sort of what it is, and a lot of times we have issues, or we have a request for rezoning where you have a plot of land that may be zoned single family R1.
Okay.
Single family. Well, the landowner wants to build apartment complexes on it, so they have to go and try to get that rezoned to fit what they want to do with the land.
Okay.
Well, it's up to us to determine whether or not, that is beneficial for that area, for, because what we try to do is we try to keep the continuity in that area. For instance, we just had a rezoning issue that we voted on within the last couple of times, and it was apartment complexes that were proposed to go down on South Caraway.
I remember seeing some publicity about that.
Oh, there was a lot.
A lot of publicity about that.
There was a lot. But, the issue that stuck out in my mind and what I'd written in my Facebook page, and that's something else we'll talk about hopefully, is how to get involved and how to keep going. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But
okay.
My wife and I, we actually went down on South Caraway, and we sat across from that property, and I watched as cars went back and forth on that two-lane.
Okay.
And there was so much traffic on that. And what was proposed to be developed, was a 300-unit apartment complex that would have 600 spaces. So you're looking at
600 parking spaces?
600 parking spaces for 300 parks on an already congested two-lane road. And it's not that I'm against multifamily housing, because when my wife and I got married, we lived in an apartment complex. I mean, a lot of kids going to school, they live in apartment complexes, so there's a need for that. However, sometimes you've got to look, is it not only the right time for that to happen, but is it the right place for that to happen? And a lot of times, both of those have to be in play for me before I'll seriously look at it. Because if you were to look at that on the onset, you would think, hey, that'd be a great place for it.
Okay. Because
it backed up to a cemetery, then on the one side was a church, and on the other side was more apartment complexes.
Okay.
You're thinking, well, that's a great place.
Okay.
Well, it may be, but not at this time, because Caraway's not been expanded to handle the traffic.
Okay.
So you've got people that walk that road all the time that are already, that already said, hey, it's dangerous already. You put 600 more cars out there, it's really going to be bad. So those are the kind of things that I look at when I try to make those decisions.
No, not everyone is going to understand, your perspective as a council member and other individuals that work for the city that actually go out and survey and really study these plots of land unfortunately, we don't see it the way you see it and understand why you make the decisions that you make. But
And we'll talk about this later, but on a lot of those issues that come down the pike that have a lot of, I guess, a lot of heated debate and banter going back and forth, you know, after the meeting, I'll try to get on my Facebook page and I'll put a post. And you can find me, Bobby E. Long, B-O-B-B-Y-E Long, Bobby E. Long. And so you friend me and I'll friend you back and everything. And, you know, you can see what I post. But a lot of times I'll try to put my point of view out there so people can understand where I'm voting, because, you know, when I ran, I wanted to make sure that I didn't sneak up on anybody. Everybody understood where I was coming from, and the most efficient way for me to do that, you know, is to not only talk to you when you call me or when you text me or whatever, but when you read what I post and you can see. Now, you can agree, you know, you can disagree, and that's fine. I just want you to be civil when you post.
Yes, sir. Most definitely.
Within your survey of the area, did the number of visitors versus the number of residents come into account?
Well, you know, that's one thing that Jonesboro, you know, is blessed with. You know, on any given day, our population will just blow up because of the visitors coming into Jonesboro to shop, to eat, to do whatever they do, you know, here. And so during that day, there's hardly, I don't know if there's a way to tell how much traffic on South Caraway was visitor traffic or resident traffic. All I know is it was traffic. And there was a lot of it. So, you know, sometimes, hey, in the future, that may be a great place because the infrastructure has expanded in order to meet that traffic load. You know, so there may be a possibility. What I would like to see, and I know that this would impact multiple communities and multiple areas in Jonesboro, is to find a way where we could incentivize builders to see the advantage of going into already existing multifamily housing and rejuvenate and revive those. You know, not necessarily leave those alone and go find another place to build another one that you can leave alone and it go down. What we need to do is find a way to incentivize those builders to rejuvenate those already existing complexes.
And that would be wonderful.
That would be the way to do it, because then what you do is you have apartments that have been there for years. You know, and you can look at a College City over there and just see all those that were once brand new, you know, that are now being, a little bit on the neglected side. And I think it would be a great thing for us to work, you know, with the builders or with those that want to come in and find some way to incentivize them to rejuvenate instead of going out and trying to rezone what should be R1 or rezone something that should be C3, you know, and build more there when we're neglecting what we've already got. I'm a firm believer, you know, in taking care of what you've got first before you go out and extend further in other areas. So,
because then you're going to create more problems. The people that live in certain areas in the more dilapidated apartments, they're going to move out to something nicer, but then it's still going to be the same issue eventually.
It's a catch-22 because, you know, you've got some people, you know, that may not make as much, that's all they can afford. And as a builder, you go in there and you say, well, okay, as a builder, I have to build something or to maintain something at a price that I can still price that at and be able to do what I do. You know, everything has to, you know, our country, you know, profit sometimes is a bad word, you know, but profit is what keeps you all here. Advertising dollars keep you here. Profit keeps builders in building and keeps apartment owners, you know, keep renting and things like that. So there's a need, but no one, and I mean no one, you know, should have to live, you know, in some place that is unsafe, you know, that is, you know, that's unhealthy, that's not safe, you know. However,
just to clarify, those that are just tuning in and do not know what we're talking about can include in the apartments and the reconstruction and the building. Could you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Just sort of reset everything. Reset everything. We were talking about rezoning, you know, and the reasons people come and request an area be rezoning. One of those, you know, was to change it to expand what they can actually do with it. You know, rezoning to multifamily, rezoning to C3, you know, or to commercial, rezoning to whatever they want to do with it. And we got on apartment complexes, and then from that we went on to, you know, how instead of building more multifamily and rezoning from from R1 to single family to multifamily, why don't we look at ways to where we can address existing multifamily units, incentivize them to where it is profitable for them to come in. And I'm not saying make it the Taj Mahal. I am saying make it livable.
That's right.
Because you've got to have it all stratus. You know, you got to have it all economic levels there.
And it all ties in together. Like you said, instead of putting something new, let's work on what we have, and then look at building something new a little bit later on. Like you said, most families would love to live in something that looks nice. I mean, just because you fall in a certain income bracket, that doesn't have to deal with holes in your ceiling or paint chipping, like the various things we see on certain sides of town that are considered the low income sides of town. Everyone deserves a chance to live in something nice.
Yes, and I also see to where, and I'm a big personal responsibility person too. You know, when I was growing up, I grew up in Mississippi County, Leachville, Arkansas.
Okay.
You know, and when I was growing up, my mom and dad, we worked around that house. We kept it neat and we kept it clean, and we kept it up and things like that. So I think that there's a personal responsibility, that the person living there also has, to not let the grass grow up and not let stuff, out in the yard, and, or to invite, things like that. So yeah, I think that it needs to go both ways.
Yes,
I think the builder needs to, build a good structure, that's affordable at the price point that he that he wants to sell it at. That's affordable, and but also the person renting that or the person living there also needs to take responsibility and make sure that everything is kept up. Because, man, let me tell you something. It don't take a whole lot, to keep things up, keep things neat, keep things organized. You know?
If you stay on top of it
early,
it won't catch up with you. Like,
that's the truth.
Stay on top of it when you first notice it. It won't catch up with you later.
So how many rezoning requests do you receive, or have you received?